We got a player coming on here. We got a player that's going to be visiting the U of A here, and Tommy Lloyd. It's an interesting situation. Tommy Lloyd met him, coaching him on on the U18 team, I believe. Nik Khamenia out of Harvard Westlake in Los Angeles, top 30 player, combo wing. If we can bring Shane, if you get a moment, if we could play some of these clips, I want to get the free throw expertise that is Saul Bookman's take on what he's seeing here.
Hey, listen, this kid is an all-around player, solid, big. He's got a nice game, all-around game too. He can hit the midi, a little fadeaway. He can shoot the three from the perimeter. He can take it to the rack. Like I really like what this kid might be able to bring. The fact that he's playing out in LA, that means he's not going up against any cupcake competition. Like this is a legit player and somebody that everybody should have an eye on because he's got a lot of versatility. He's continuing to grow into his body. And I just feel like his skill set all the way around is a very kind of feels like a European type of player and skill set, which is what Tommy Lloyd loves. He loves these guys that just have a lot of versatility, ball handling. You see that right there. Athleticism. I mean, like the kid is just really, really good.
And you watch him too. I think what's interesting about guys like that too is that he moves at his own pace, which I always like. He doesn't look like he's ever in a hurry. I mean, you look at him and he might not be just blowing right by you, but he gets to basically wherever he wants on the court. This is probably going to be an Arizona and a Gonzaga type situation. By the way, does this player not look like a Gonzaga type guy?
Yeah, so Gonzaga right here. Yeah. This guy's so Gonzaga. I like guys that don't speed themselves up.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people – there's been plenty of guys in the league that don't speed themselves up, but Luka really just has made it so obvious that you don't have to play crazy athletic basketball in order to be an elite basketball player. And this kid, I think he has way more physical ability than Luka for sure. But in terms of the skill set and growing into the game, I think he's getting there. I just think the shot making right there is the thing that you're going to look at the most and say, yeah, this kid definitely can bring it for sure. And Glenn Nugent hits it right on the head for sure.
Like that.
Mike Dunleavy vibes Jr. for sure.
Mike Dunleavy vibes, still bothered by that 0-1 performance against Arizona, but Mike Dunleavy, you take Mike Dunleavy every day of the week. Now, Joseph says, wasn't Chet from Harvard Westlake? No, he was not. I don't know where he's from, but he was not from Harvard Westlake. He wasn't a West Coast kid. But this is somebody too, and Tommy Lloyd is very, very, Tommy Lloyd is very picky on who he offers. That's always been something. I think with Sean Miller, it was really easy to cover recruiting because Sean Miller would offer basically 12 5-star kids, and then he would figure out which ones he could get. Tommy Lloyd is very, very discerning on who he chooses. And one time he was talking about too, especially when you're dealing with international players, things that maybe we don't even think about, they do. Like if you're getting a player from, somewhere in Eastern Europe or whatever, and they might be from an area that does not get along with another player's area that's on the team. Those are all the kind of things that you have to take in. This is very much of a chess, not checkers thing when you're dealing with players that are overseas, international, or just in general. He's very discerning when it comes to that, Saul.
Oh, I never even thought about that. So you mean to tell me that like maybe he would not, let's just say you had a Russian player and a Ukrainian player, he would not go after one of the two just because the other one is already on the roster?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not speaking for him there, but that's what I'm talking about though. Like I'll give you an example, like Stojakovic. That I believe is at Stanford now or UCLA. I can't remember, but there were some, just some home country issues with some other, people. Not that these kids didn't like each other or anything, but, obviously you just come from different areas where there's a little bit of friction and whatnot.
There's optics behind it for sure.
For sure. But that always stuck with me, what he said about that, that kind of being the case. So you got to keep that in mind there. But either way, we would very much like Nik Khamenia. The 2025 class, in my opinion, this needs to be a good domestic high school class, because look at the guys we've been talking about. You've been talking about a Koa Pete. You've been talking about a Braden Burries. You've been talking about a Mikkel Brown. Now you're talking about a Nik Khamenia. You're also a Xavion Staten, who we've talked about before. You got 5 or 6 guys there that, play a bunch of different positions. I need a point guard, and I'd love to get a couple of those guys, Saul.
Yeah, I want ball handlers. I want shot makers. I want guys that can play defense at a high level. I think everybody that they're going after, I think they present a little bit of both, and the ability to be developed at a high level. And I think that's the other thing about Tommy is that he doesn't necessarily look at it for what's good for the program. He also looks at it from a standpoint of how much room do they have left to grow and how good are they right now. And because I think Tommy Lloyd has a lot of confidence in his ability to be able to develop players at a high level, and he's shown that already. That's what I think. Because I don't think Tommy's the type of guy that looks at a player and thinks he's maxed out, so let's go ahead and get him because he's just a good player. I think when he looks at a Trey Townsend, he's like, he's got room to grow. I think we can make him even better than he is. I think when he looks at a Kashad Johnson, same thing. When he looks at even why am I forgetting my guy's name? Caleb Love. Yeah. I think that he looks at him and says, this is what you are. This is what you can be. This is where we're going to try and get you to go. And that's the process.
Now, I get people that ask me this all the time. I'd love to be wrong on this. I do not expect Tunde to come to the U of A. I believe that Tunde is likely going to be going to the highest bidder. That's not going to be Arizona. And again, I want to say this. I have no problem with kids going to the highest bidder. I feel that I need to say this once a week. I have no problem. I am not putting a kid down for that because, listen, if you can get generational money, you get generational money. Arizona's still in it, but Arizona does not expect to get him. How about that?
Mike, if you were a recruit and I said, and you got offers, you ready for this? You got offers to go to ASU, CU, or Duke. What do you think the ultimate reason you would decide to go to whatever school would be?
At this stage in the game, two things. How much money are you going to pay me right now? And can you get me to the NBA? Those two things, period. That's all I care about. Money.
Okay. That's kind of my point.
Yeah, I have no qualms with that. So, again, it's not a diss, but I don't expect Tunde to come here. But either way, there's a lot of 2025 kids that Arizona is in on. Now, Christopher,
you remember somebody asking me in the chat, like, would I ever consider being the ASU AD? I'm like, you want to pay me $1 million a year? Hell yeah, I will.
Exactly, man.
I'm not even thinking twice. Like, bye.
Would you also maybe be a mole like Antonio Pierce and destroy the program from within?
We all silly like the mayor.